Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the North American Mania Tournament round of 64. Rolling right along through this very long block of matches, and we're bringing you another very exciting matchup. We've got Basil going up against KevinRJF. As always, my name is Sparky. I am joined in the commentary booth this time by none other than Dynascape. Dinah, how you doing?
Pretty good on this fine afternoon, Sparky. Thank you for asking. Yes, we do have an exciting matchup against Basil and Kevin. Kevin being the only Nicaraguan player in this tournament, so it's really cool to see. I know they had mentioned before that they are getting people from their community to watch this game. So, if you Nicaraguan players out there do like this kind of thing, we'd love to see you in future editions or just, in the tournament scene in general.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they had a pretty decent showing qualifying for, I believe, their first 40M not too long ago. Got bounced out by a couple of teams. I think they slotted in at C32, so just squeaking in there at the very end, but able to show off what they've got, and hopefully they start to become more of a presence in the coming months. But for right now, we're going to get into the warm-ups for this match. I think this is the first of two. And Dinah, do you have any expectations for this match?
So what I think going into this match is that it's going to be probably an Ellen versus Rice battle. I think Basil is more geared towards Ellen, or hybrid even. Just looking at how both of them did during qualifiers, I'm not sure how they are in terms of early game accuracy. As always, this is only round of 64, so it isn't really representative of what happened in the qualifiers. However, it's a good start to look at it on paper. So I think Basil might go towards the Ellen hybrid side. Kevin probably picking whatever Rice they end up liking.
Yeah, I think that is one of the closer matchups we have to start this block off as well. We do have another match going on concurrently with this one, and that will be the case for the next couple of blocks because everybody likes to play at that very comfortable afternoon slot. We do have Shadow GM taking on Suwano as well. So we'll try and keep you guys as up to date with that match as well. Who knows, maybe if it goes on long enough, have a chance to swap over there. But for right now, our attention will be on I believe this was the original scheduled match at this time. So they will be getting the full focus of the stream.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Basil and Kevin pretty close in terms of seeding. Basil being C28 and Kevin being C37. So definitely not like some of the like the first stream we saw where we had what was that, Seed 2 versus Seed 63, Hellsun versus Ketsu.
Yeah.
Last stream was quite nice as well.
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, we started the tournament off, if I can speak English, with Seed 2 taking on Seed 63. The match after this is going to be our number 1 seed taking on our 64th seed. So, some, I always like to say intense action. I mean, anything can happen on any given day, but sometimes Goliath just wins.
Pretty much. It is always interesting to see how high the top seeds can score on these maps.
Oh,
it's always really fun seeing 9-4 is just pushed out like it's no big deal.
Yeah, the bar is very high for those higher seeded players, and the fact that we're scaling it down and they were already able to post up the scores that they did during qualifiers is kind of scary because this is basically warm-ups or just like easy maps to them. So looks like we're going to be getting into the second warm-up here. I think it's Basil's warm-up by the looks of it. So let's see what is in store for us.
Pretty short one as well. Only a minute and a half. However, that star rating being at 6 stars, pretty physical. If the last warm-up was anything to go off of, it does seem like Basil might look to maybe have that edge in Rice when it comes to early game accuracy, but again, anything can happen. There are a lot of varied picks in this pool to kind of find your stride in.
Yeah, if I know Basil from their past tournament experience, basically a core jack player when it comes to the Rice side of the pool. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was a core jack pick for them to warm up on. I think the star rating might actually attribute it to that as we make our way through this introduction. And sure enough,
yeah, both players are pretty comfortable. One miss from Kevin, however, just in general, it does seem like they are doing well in these what looks to be pretty fast 130 BPM and decently dense as well.
yeah, it's always interesting the disparity between BPM versus density whenever it comes to core jack picks, because they can get pretty deceptive, and we have as many quads into triples such as this, it can get pretty messy to read through. But for right now, Basil's doing a very good job of basically acting their way through this, unsurprising, given that this is their warm-up, so probably very familiar with the chart as a whole. Kevin doing very well in their own right with that 99.6, and still only the singular miss earlier on.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard in core jack. Like, you mess up once and then, you know, your accuracy kind of tanks. Any straight grades can, you know, duplicate or even more, multiply into a lot of bad judgments. So regardless, two very, very clean run-throughs from Basil and Kevin, 990 and 970, and I made pretty much even or around there. So could have been anyone's map, honestly, for this warm-up.
Yeah, for sure. But with that out of the way, we will be getting into the all-important roles to determine the protects and the bans. With a pool this small, I think that becomes very interesting to start talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a double LN ban, because of the fact that whenever we have tournaments that don't have SV, usually that bottom half of the map pool becomes a easy pickings.
Pretty much would have to agree with you there. And seeing as how you said that Basil really does like core jacks in general, I do think that this pool does have a lot to offer in terms of jacks or core jacks. We've got Rice 3, mixed Rice having the core jacks, and then even something like Rice 5 Beat Prisoner does have some very, very fast jacks. I think they're at like 170 or something like that. Or if you wanted to go the, you know, the crazy route, the road less traveled by, we still have Hybrid 1 as well. There is a lot of jacks in that, so I think Basil will find resonance with a lot of the maps in the pool. Kevin's gonna go ahead and protect Rice 4 to start off.
Yeah, pretty good one. One of the more technical maps in the pool, definitely has some speed elements in it as well. So basically a lot more single note oriented, with some bursts to read through as well. So now we wait for Basil to protect her map. Oh, and that was apparently going to be her protect as well, so
That's
nice to know that there's overlap.
yeah, that's always really funny to see. Like, you want to go for one map and like you're like, I'm gonna protect this, and then your opponent protects it, and you're like, well, let's just go with the second best option here. So
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh god, what's plan B?
and you know, many times just players just do not have a plan B in mind, which is, you know, totally fair. Especially when you do your research and they kind of throw a wrench in the works. But again, I do think Res 3, Res 5 do seem to be, in general, good ideas. Basil did place 19th on Bukawashi, was the stamina jump stream chart. So maybe Rise 2 would be nice too, but they are going to go ahead and pick up Rise 5 as their protect.
Yeah, so Beat Prisoner going to be protected in this pool, and the ban is going to be Ukulele, so kind of like what we were alluding to when SV is off the board, LN soon thereafter follows. So LN2 not going to be played during this match. I would not be surprised if we saw something like Hello Seattle getting removed from this pool. I think Lost Illusion might be like the lesser of three evils in that LN pool.
Yeah, like the least menacing head-on service. Yeah, and just as you called it, hello Seattle, we say goodbye to you once again.
Yeah, no love to these LN charts in this early game. I mean, it's understandable because in these early game pools, I feel like everybody kind of sticks to their guns when it comes to their Rice proficiency. Everybody is just like I think the curve for Rice proficiency is so much steeper than the LN curve that you don't want to risk it. And funnily enough, they're starting with hybrid.
Okay, and this is interesting because this is what I would say is the more LN leaning hybrid as well, be with you. So quite an interesting pick from Kevin, especially with a Rice protect and an LN ban to go with the LN hybrid. It's a very, very interesting plan of attack, especially for the first strike.
Yeah, maybe just testing the waters, not wanting to commit one way or the other just yet. That, or maybe paying the respect to Basil and her Rice abilities, maybe just wanting to test how good she is, switching back and forth between the LNs into the Rice. To be fair, I think the Rice is less of a difficulty factor on this chart. It's really just like jump stream with so kind of a little bit of hands, but looks like they are ready. We're going to get into this first map of this best of 7. First player to 4 points will book their ticket into the round of 32 in the winner's side. Loser not eliminated just yet, just going to drop down into that loser's bracket.
Starting off, Basil picking up a couple of late grades, so gonna have to make up some score already as Kevin takes the lead. As you said, there is a lot of very comfy jump stream, hand stream patterns in this map, but again, as most of the difficulty does lie within the LN sections, we do see Kevin holding on pretty strong. A couple of quad LNs coming up to deal with, however, does have that lead for now.
Yeah, just seeing 200s being traded back and forth between the two players. Going through that first quarter of the chart, neither of them really making it through unscathed down into that mid 99% range. Kevin ahead only by about 0.1% and change. As we transition into the second third of the chart, the LN difficulty does start to pick up just a little bit. Gotta watch these releases, don't want to drop too many 200s unless you start falling behind. And right now, both of them starting to fall down into that low 99% range. Kevin's still ahead by about 0.1%, and it's really gonna come down to this back half of the chart, who can keep it cleaner.
Kevin still holding the lead even after all of this time. Basil picking up a 200 in this slow break section. And as Kevin climbs back up to 99.4 and Basil gets back up to 99.3, we are in the last third of the map, and more or less what you have seen so far. Basil takes a stray miss, and that is going to do way too much damage, especially in such a late point in the map.
Yeah, things start to calm down in this outro. A very unfortunate miss for Basil, and Kevin did have the lead going into that chart, but oh my goodness, on the last drop! But Basil trades it back, not able to capitalize on the miss from Kevin. I think she had managed to get up over that 400 combo cap before that second miss, and that one is going to be the nail in the coffin on this pick, unless Kevin trades it back here, but I don't think there's enough chart left for her to capitalize on. So, looked a little bit dicey there for Kevin for just a briefest of moments, but they had the control from start to end at 10,000 point score difference, and Kevin picks up the first point in this match to go up 1-0.
Very well played by Kevin. Basically have Basil's 200 count, and Basil picking up 2 slider breaks was very, very unfortunate. Only traded once by Kevin, and that led to Kevin taking the point overall. So, as you said, it was very, very dicey. I think both players did show a bit of an uneasiness, bit of nerves in this first map. But heading into the second map with Basil's pick, we are going to need to see them get the next point so that Kevin can't really capitalize on a lead, especially something as much as like a first to 4 best of 7. There's basically no room to give away a breakpoint.
Yeah, for sure. So for Basil's first foray into choosing, looks like she's gonna go with BL Rink. Rice 3. I think that is the easiest map in the pool, at least physicality wise. There is a bit of a core jack element to it at times, but definitely not at a BPM fast enough to cause too much issue. But the transition in and out of the speedier sections into those slower sections might prove to be the decider. One of the longer maps in the pool as well, just under 3 minutes. See if Basil can tie this up 1-1, or if Kevin can find the first break point in this match.
Pretty nice pick from Basil again. A lot of core jacks to deal with, and with it being 115, step down from what was seen in the warm-up, but still pretty tough to contend with, especially if you were not on point. You see Kevin with a decently early lead halfway into the combo cap. However, anything can change with these bursts.
Yeah, for sure. Very easy to pick up straight 200s here and there, especially when you get into those single note streams. A couple of jumps littered in as well to try and throw you off your game, but both players starting to balance out, meet each other in the middle. Now they're playing 8-3, and that score lead is virtually non-existent as we make our way through the first quarter of the chart. Both players comfortably above that 400 combo cap. So it's going to come down to see who picks up that first 200, or even a rush of 300s at this point could turn the tide.
Basil actually picks up their first solid lead of the map about a third of the way in. Not too much to speak of going on. However, it does pick up in the back half. So we're going to have to see if there are going to be any straight misses yet again, or if this is just going to be a double FC and totally based on MA and general accuracy.
Yeah, right now neither player really relenting inside of 100%, and that was inside 1,000 points, I believe, just looking at the score difference.
Yeah, when they had that break, I think it was even, I wanted to say it was in between 100 points separating them. However, right now Basil climbs up in terms of their lead by just a little bit. Things are slow right now in the map, but these single streams are very, very scary because any 200s could basically give over the lead to your opponent.
Yeah, for sure. And for the briefest of moments going into the back half of the chart, Basil starting to hit a little bit early, picked up a rush 300s, and that brings Kevin back into the equation just a little bit, but that lead is still inside 200%. For every little bit that Basil climbs up, Kevin is right there behind to try and capitalize on any potential mistakes. Last sliver of chart left to go, not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination is Basil. I don't want to say anything lest I curse either of these players, but there are very few bursts left in this chart. Do not want to drop the run. And Basil hangs on by 1,400 points. 2 V1 double S's. It just came down to ratio at the end.
Yeah, very, very exciting map going on between Basil and Kevin. Just 5,300s separating both players. And unfortunately, Kevin was at the worst end of the deal, just constantly in Basil's shadow from basically a third of the map to the finish. It's very unfortunate. However, Basil will narrowly take that point. Kevin getting the next pick.
Yeah, very contentious match to start this one off. Now, essentially, we're going from what, a best of 7 to a best of 5 now. First player to pick up the next 3 points. We'll see themselves through. And it looks like the Protect is going to come out, so Winda going to be the pick for Kevin. To be fair, could have also been Basil's Protect, just given that earlier exchange. So both players should be comfortable with this one. It's going to come down probably to the same story as BO Rank, just ratio alone, who can keep that 200 column empty.
This is very, very scary as a pick again. Basil revealing that this was going to be their Protect. So as you said, decent amount of comfort is to be expected within both of these players on this map. However, in general, this map is a bit harder to act compared to all of the others. I think there are a lot of like techie-ish sections, a lot of silly bursts and stuff like that. So it is imperative that you do try to V1SS if you can at this stage in the game.
Alrighty, so making our way through this introduction, and we start to see these very awkward bursts start to come out, some very fast trills, both players managing to read their way through them as we get into the first real hand stream section. Second quarter of the map still upcoming, and it's the same story as BL Ring. Both these players virtually tied. There is no semblance of a scoreboard below them, and going into the second third of the chart, it's probably going to be a story. Neither player giving an inch at the moment.
Yeah, Kevin with a slight lead off of the back of, I think, just general MA. However, a couple 200s, and you'll find that lead to be gone in an instant as we get into this break section here. I think both players still holding on to the V1SS. It is hard to tell, however, it is getting very, very close right now. Only a third of the map left, and a couple of these bursts could really spell doom.
Yeah, we always like to say misses are fatal, but in situations just like this, a singular 200 could spell the end of your run. And right now we're seeing a complete 180 from BL Rank. It is Kevin ahead by hundreds of a percent at the moment. Cannot afford to relent this late on into the chart, but outside of a couple more nasty bursts, there aren't really a lot of tricks left up this map's sleeve. And oh, but there it is! Kevin tripping up at the very end of the chart. Basil trades it back with a 200, but that is going to spell the end. And Basil picks up the first break point in this match to go up 2-1 now.
Oh, and
Oh,
such
that is
an unfortunate.
unfortunate.
Yeah, look at that score. Would have been a very, very clean run by Kevin V1SS. But that, you said, not a lot of tricks left up in the sleeve, but that last little trick did end up giving over the breakpoint to Basil. So it's very unfortunate. However, Basil is going to take the lead and the next pick to go with it.
Yeah, so now she has pick of the litter here, can probably afford to go with something a little bit riskier, so she might not have wanted to go towards if this were still even. But now with the breakpoint in the pocket, an opportunity to capitalize. Maybe B Prisoner comes out in this instance, maybe wanting to stick with the more Jack-oriented maps to try and make this a match point situation.
Yeah, I would like to see Beat Prisoner here from Basil. I do think that in general it would probably be the best choice. However, yeah.
I was gonna say Hills Have Eyes might be a close second in terms of consideration. Connexation. Actually, no. Now that I start to go into the connexation point, Basil decides to go Hills Have Eyes. So Rice 2 gonna come out here.
And a very interesting pick too. I think both players have just kind of traded the Rice accuracy back and forth in the two picks that we've seen. So really with this very straightforward map where it's just 187 BPM jump stream and hand stream, we really will see who can come out on top here.
For sure, and taking a little bit of a tangent from this match, the other match that we had at the top of the hour as well between Shadow GM and Suwano is over. Shadow GM taking it 4-0 over Suwano, just as an update in case anybody was curious about the result. But with that being said, we can divert our attention back over here. The Hills Have Eyes is the pick for Basil to try and go up 3-1. Kevin looking to try and take that break point back.
And a lot of these patterns are, I would say, very, very tricky. I think you can slip up on a lot of them, especially in the transitions from the hands to the jumps. It can be very, very awkward, and you can find a lot of bad judgments or even a miss at times. So it really does come down to who can minimize 200s. And really, I do think that any misses can be traded back. It's what we've seen so far, we've seen a decent amount of misses in this match so far. So anything can happen as Basil does take this early lead.
Yeah, about a 0.1% pulling away from Kevin through that opening exchange, 187 BPM. Basically mixed hand and jump stream as we dive into the next chorus, back half of the chart still to come. Both players holding on to their FCs for the moment. It is still that gap between the two of them. Basil finds a 200 in the exchange, not traded back by Kevin. That does put a damper on things, cuts the lead about in half, but Basil finds the drop going into the last third of the chart, and now Kevin takes advantage. Basil finding his second drop.
Yeah, again, those patterns are so tricky. It really is kind of a I don't want to say RGU map, but it is very scary if you are not like 100% focused in. So Basil finding these two drops is no surprise. It could have happened to anyone in this tournament, but Kevin holding on strong with a 99.78. Very strong showing by them. If they can close this out with an FC, that is a very good statement to make, especially when you are to tie it up.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of smooth and steady till the end, and it looks like Kevin is actually going to take that breakpoint back and make it 2-2 now. Oh, Basil had the ratio advantage, just unfortunate to find those couple of drops in that back half.
Oh man, and I guess with the bad judgments, you do take them at multiples at a time when you are playing through this kind of map. So I wonder if Basil had kind of cleaned up the score a little bit. It definitely would have been close, beating the 300 count, but maybe having more 200s and 100s.
Yeah.
Kevin having a very scary pick coming up here, because it is at this point best of 3 with the tiebreakers. So this is going to be Kevin's last pick regardless. So you do have to make it count.
For sure. And looking in the lobby chat, it looks like Basil might have had an unfortunate situation happen, an eyelash in the eye. Definitely enough to throw you off your game no matter how good you are, so that can explain some of those drops. Because it looked like she had it basically on lock until those drops came out. So Kevin gonna opt to finish out this hybrid pool. Started it off with Be With You, their last pick gonna be Connection.
And this one is quite scary, especially as it ramps up towards the end. Again, hybrid one being kind of Rice centered, there is a lot of jacks involved, and at 145 BPM, they're no slouch at all, especially with the progressive layering. It kind of gets more and more tiring to play as more things are thrown at you as the song goes on. So really you do have to stand the test of time on this map.
I think to your point of RNG from Rice 2, I like to think this one is a little bit of a toss-up as well. That ending, to your point about the layering, start to throw in the LN into the mix, and you're starting to have to juggle a lot of things. It's very easy to lose control of what you are doing if you don't have the finger control needed to handle some basically reverse shield patterns. And it'll be very interesting to see how these two hold on, especially in that ending. Right now, I think we're just waiting on the players to ready up.
It is a very interesting map. You start off with pretty light jacks, but they are at a fast pace, and then the jacks kind of turn a bit denser, and then you start to add in the LNs, and oh boy, by the end of it, I get very tired. It's I think it's a very tiring map, especially just jack-centric maps in general. That's just what they are. So hopefully both players do have the physicality and stamina, but more importantly the focus needed to finish off this map very strongly.
Yeah, so for right now, I think we're just still waiting. Maybe just wanting to ensure that there's nothing in the eye that can put a damper Oh, Kevin's power went out. Thank you to our
Yeah.
referee for letting us know. I do not have any other things open. So
Yeah, it was very, very unfortunate, but Kevin just got like the most sudden of blackouts in their house. So, but it is back. They
good.
did say in Discord that it was back, so they're just trying to log back on and get everything in order. I guess turn their PC on, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a hardened mouth moment when things like that happen. I remember very vividly I was going to do a tournament qualifier, and literally like 5 minutes before the match was supposed to start, just the briefest of blinks in power. And it's not about waiting for the computer to turn back on, it's waiting for the internet to get restored.
Yes, 100%. It's really, the router needs to start up, you gotta wait and wait. It's horrible. I know exactly what you mean. And thankfully it happened in between maps, so
Yes,
we did not get just the thrown over map to Basil. We can have a fair fight, especially on Kevin's pick too.
Yeah. So right now just waiting for Kevin to get re-invited here. Looks like the invite did go through. Looks like they are back online, so thankful for that. I think Basil just dipping for a moment just to stay warm. Definitely don't want to get too cold, especially mid-match. So for right now, I think we can take a second to look ahead at what is coming at the top of the hour. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple header at the 22 UTC hour. A boatload of matches. We're going to be showing off Nepogin taking on Cao, our number 1 seed taking on our number 64 seed, and at the same time we've got Peach Marrow taking on Llama's Boy 364, Envy taking on Sinead, Tonels taking on Keen's Ball, Imperial taking on Sugos. So plenty of action. We'll try our best to keep you guys as up to date as possible, but hopefully you guys do enjoy what we have in store for you all here.
And not only a lot of matches going on, but just in general, I think it's a very, very long block because right now it's about 21:30 UTC. So we have five matches at 22 UTC, 2 matches at 23 UTC, 2 matches at 0 UTC, and then 3 matches at 1 UTC. So we've got about 4-ish hours of prime time gaming, just straight up. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll just have the stream on, basically, just give you a stream of conscious games.
We'll just dip in and out as needed, but we'll just leave the stream running at this point. Hopefully we can continue this match. Like I said, Basil dipping to remain warm. Kevin trying to get back online. Thankfully this isn't as strict as other tournaments. This is a understandable situation. Stuff out of your control is very unfortunate, but hopefully it doesn't mess with the psyche of the players involved in this match.
Yeah, hopefully we can finish off strong for this match. Hopefully Kevin can get back in and their router finally starts to work.
Hey, there they are.
Oh, nice.
So Kevin has entered the building. Gonna wait on Basil to get re-invited here.
And again, his connection. Kevin's pick, it is basically a best of 3 right now, so Kevin takes this one and Basil takes their next pick. We do have, I think, the first tiebreaker of the weekend, correct?
Yeah, I don't want to say anything lest we jinx it, but definitely can smell it brewing in the air. So looks like Kevin is back. Hopefully no more connection issues, knock on wood. It would be very funny if Basil's internet went out or power went out.
Oh boy.
It's like, anything you can do, I can do better, but that will not be the case. Basil does make her grand reappearance, and we're going to continue this match. Thank you all for waiting. Hopefully you all have been enjoying the action so far as we make our way through this round of 64.
And we have so much more matches coming up ahead tonight, so make sure to check those out because even the next one streamed is an absolute banger. You get to see a top seed play yet again. It's gonna be Neptune versus Cow at the top of the next hour. And I do think that both players are ready, so we are gonna go ahead and get into Kevin's pick of connection. This is Hybrid 1, the Rice League map.
Alrighty, so strong starts for both players through this introduction. Basil able to keep it a little bit cleaner as we dive into a bit of a slow jump stream section, a couple of LNs thrown in just for good measure, a couple of rolls as well. Nothing too tiring just yet, but Basil able to pull out a bit of a lead as Kevin starts to find a couple of 200s going to the second quarter of the chart. Going to widen the score gap just a little bit. I think this is the widest one we have seen in quite a while now.
Yeah, especially with two double FCs active. Kevin even taking a 100 on that little jack burst. So Basil does seem to be very, very comfortable with this map. And it does show 99.86 is a very, very score to see on the other side of the screen as we get into the back half of the map.
Still about a minute to go between these two players. It's 0.3% the advantage for Basil. Not out of the woods just yet. We have seen leads evaporate, and as I say that, Basil finds the drop as the LNs start to make their appearance. They're going to start growing in frequency, and now Kevin takes advantage, takes score lead off the back of that FC and the accuracy lead as well, but they need to hang on here. The short LNs start to become a lot more prevalent, and they start to wear away at your stamina a little bit going into this last quarter of the chart.
And especially when the LNs are so short, you know, it can be very, very scary. Basil does seem to be taking a lot of damage on the schlongs, and Kevin seems to be holding on just fine. I think that a miss untraded would still be Kevin's win here, and just not a lot of map left.
Yeah, last little chart left to go. This outro very calm. Just a couple of rolls, a couple of mini jacks as well, and the occasional LN. And it was looking dicey there for Kevin, but able to pull out the FC in the end to make it 2-3 now. Basil needing to win this pick to force the tiebreaker and avoid getting dropped down into that loser's bracket.
I think it's very interesting to note that the 300 count basically slashed in half by Basil, that being supplemented by the amount of jacks in the first half, but really again, it was the misses and the slider breaks picked up as the LNs started to come in the back half. So very unfortunate, but overall just a very, very good play by Basil and Kevin. Just close overall. So now it is Basil's pick, and they are going to come out with the immediate beat prisoner pick. That's going to be Rice 5. And last call for Basil to take control of this match.
Again, not a long map by any stretch of the imagination. Just under 2 minutes. A lot can happen on picks like this. Very mini jack oriented, a lot of very speedy patterns to read through. So all it takes is one bad section untraded to swing the needle one way or the other. Basil needing to win this to force the tiebreaker. Kevin can close it out here.
Pretty bad start overall by Kevin. Look at the UR bar. The polling rate, I think, got messed up or something. but gonna start off with a very, very unfortunate about 99% play here, as Basil is very comfortable again on these jacks, 99.87.
Yeah, and as we finish out that introduction, things calm down by a significant margin. And speaking to that, this is 0.8%, nearly a full percent of an advantage for Basil to work with. Both FCs still on the board. It's just off the back of that introduction that Basil sees herself ahead. Back out of the chart still to come, and those mini jacks make a grand re-entrance.
Here comes kind of the non-trivial LNs in between the jacks. However, Basil is taking these quite well. Again, really the difference is going to be that MA when it comes to the jacks. It does seem like, again, Kevin's keyboard might be acting up a bit. That pulling rate kind of, especially with the very short blackout, might have messed up settings or something. However, as the map does end up closing off, we are going to see Basil with a pretty dominant lead, about 20,000 points, just under that, and is going to take this next map. So we are going to send it into tiebreaker. Very, very hard fought match by both of them, and we are going to see the first TB of this weekend.
Very nice. Alrighty, so going into the tiebreaker, this is 4 minutes of a very hard chart overall. I think this map, or this song rather, made its first appearance in the Mania Beginner Showdown. If memory serves me correct, I think it was either finals or grand finals on the base rate, being brought back here on 1.1x, and this could be anybody's game. Neither player has really been tested in terms of overall LN prowess. This one definitely leaning a bit more into that hybrid section, but definitely don't want to rest on those harder LN sections.
Yeah, especially with the up rates, I do think that the bursts become that much more deadly here and now. These sections can be quite cruel to the players. It's very interesting how people will handle it, because I think that in general Basil kind of has struggled more with the LNs overall, and Kevin hasn't really found or could really match up to Basil's accuracy when it comes to Rise. So again, it is kind of a pretty balanced matchup for both of these players, just both of them better at one thing over the other.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to come down to the wire, or it could be decided by just a singular miss. It really just depends on how these two are feeling. And you can imagine going 6 maps deep, the nerves might be a little bit frayed at this point, especially if you consider both of the situations. Kevin coming back from that power outage, able to compose themselves enough to take the point when needed, and Basil able to respond in kind with a very strong performance to close out to bring us here. So now we shall see 4 minutes separate both these players from that round of 32 winners bracket. Only one can continue on.
Pretty tricky start here with the LNs. A lot of them release space, so both players picking up a decent amount of 300s. However, Kevin starting off a bit worse for wear then Basil. Jacks are coming in, B bursts are coming in, and as we get into the chorus here,
we're virtually tied.
up. Yeah.
Not a lot to speak of between the two, but those LN bursts do catch Kevin just a little bit here. Starts to fall. 300% behind. It's not that big of a lead, but it is a lead nonetheless for Basil to work with as we transition out of that first quarter, and Kevin finds a drop on the transition.
First drop goes to Kevin, so they are gonna have to make it back, and it was quite dirty as well. Dropped about 0.2%. That is a lot to make up. However, there's a lot more map left. We're only about a third of the way in, taking a bit more damage on the burst rolls. However, there's a lot of LNs that I think Basil can drop on, and as I say that, Basil does drop. However, it's quite clean overall. I don't think the lead will change, but that is a start for Kevin.
Yeah, for sure. Able to make a bit of a dent in that lead that Basil had built up. Still only going into the second third of the chart. Things start to calm down just a little bit. These anchored LN jacks can be very deceptive to try and play through. You start any of those sections off on the wrong foot, and the CB rush is real. But both players able to manage their way through. Kevin picking up a bit of damage, going down into that 99.3 range. Basil about to climb back up into that 99.7 range, able to recover much nicer from her drop. And both of them up with that 400 combo cap. Back half of the chart left to go. The LN starts to become a little bit more prevalent as we make our way through. Both of them trying to hang on as best as they can. It's really just a game of damage mitigation if you are Basil. Kevin needing to pick up the pace here, but not able to find a bit of a foothold through this section. Not able to climb up as much as they might need to as we make our way into the last third of the chart. That being said, Basil did drop just a little bit, but not enough to make any significant difference. That being said, cannot afford to find a drop this late on into the chart.
Exactly. Basil has maintained about a 0.2 to 0.3% lead over Kevin since the start, and especially since that first 30 drop from Kevin. However, overall, it does seem like there's really no deep or holes in Basil's defense. Even in this very, very provocative LN section, it seems like they are very, very comfortable. Taking a couple 200s, but that's not gone untraded by Kevin.
Yeah, it's for every 10th that Basil finds, every 200 that she drops, Kevin does respond in kind. That being said, Kevin able to manage their way through it a little bit better than Basil, but Kevin finds a drop on the build-up. Last little chart left to go. Both of them able to handle the rolls, but now Kevin's really going to need to find a drop traded back from Basil, but it looks like she might just have done enough to make it through. Maybe can afford a drop, but it has to be clean. But for right now, the LN's not dense enough to pose that much of an issue, and Kevin's going to be the one finding the last couple of drops. His stamina might be running out here, down into that low 99% range, and it was looking to be a very intense back and forth, and that it was. 6 maps down, and as the 7th one comes to an end, it will be Basil avoiding the upset and moving on to the winners round of 32, knocking Kevin down into that loser's bracket, but not without a fight.
Yeah, and what a fight that was. I would not want to be facing Kevin in the loser's bracket. What an amazing showing as well. Did very, very good overall, especially to be able to stand up to Basil in the rice sections and also challenge them in the hybrids as well. Looked to be a very, very formidable opponent. So well played by Basil, but again, Kevin just put up such a good showing here today.
Yeah, for sure. Commiserations to them, but congratulations to Basil for moving on in the winner's bracket. And that will do it for us here for this match. As we mentioned at the basically halfway point of this match, Shadow GM taking down Suwano by a score of 4-0. And oh boy, the quintuple header, 10-minute break between then and now. Definitely gotta take the stream down just to do a bit of a commentator swap and make sure that we have the VOD saved, but don't touch that dial. There's still plenty of Mania action to come. Till then, take care, y'all.